There was indeed an unquenchable appetite for fun. Mountainside picnics, trips to the sea, buses and trains organised with the precision of an army on the march. The Rhondda actor Glyn Houston shows how the Rhondda writer Gwyn Thomas elaborated on the Rhondda exodus to the sea.
Now, on the day, the station was like a scene from Babylon. A real crisis. Because you see, a number of chapels would go on the same day, at the same time. It was then that the local station master reached the heights of joy. No cooperation, no sympathy, no feelings at all for the Great Western Railway. Look at them. The biggest gathering of Christians since the revival of 1904. And all wanting to go to Barry on the same train. And there's no love or trust among you. If one chapel went on its own, the others would be back home praying for heavy rain.
We go into chapel a month before the Barry trip, you know, to qualify, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Right?
To go in there with the there was a chapel at the end of our street, and we all, you know, the excitement of going to Barry, you know, and always seemed to be raided when I go to Barry. A banana sandwiches and egg. By the time you got to Barry, they'd be black as banana was, you know.
We always had our heads out of the windows on the train going to Barry, and always, oh, I can see the sea, I can see the sea. It was always the first one to see the sea. Of course, some people used to say that the steam from the engine was good for chest trouble. I don't know much about that.
The slogan for each compartment was push 'em in as tight as you can. We can always winkle you out of the woodwork in Barry. Now, this explains the superb breath control of many Rhondda vocalists. It's true. Because on a really crowded day, they would inhale deeply in Pennygry. Then they wouldn't breathe out again until they got to Barry.
The expanse of sands on Barry Island became as familiar to generations of pleasure seekers as the valley streets themselves.
Well, the Rhondda, when I was a kid, was an adventurous place to be in, you know. I mean, on an autumn day like today now, well, you wouldn't see nothing like we've got behind us today now. Because the soil would be over this valley, would be a big sheet of white smoke. Because not only was the coal mines belching out smoke to produce the steam for the winders, every household here was burning coal, you know. And as kids, what we would do, I mean, we like walking in fog, really, you know. And on an autumn day like today, we'd get up on top of the mountains, you know, above the sort of smoke line, you know. And you could really walk really. It looked like a lake, you know. And up on top of the smoke line, we called it as kids, you know, you'd find people sitting, you know, old miners. I'm talking about people now when I was a kid back about 1952, you know, and these men were in their 80s, you know. And as small kids, you know, we'd sit with them because they all knew us, you know, and we'd listen to them talking, you know, and the things they talked about was unbelievable, you know. It was alien to us, really, you know. I remember one particular case, sitting talking to old men up in Blaenflechi, and they were talking about Attila the Hun, you know, and things like that, you know, and Genghis Khan, you know. Well, I thought, good God, what are they on about, you know? But later on, when you got all the books, you know, but these people had knowledge of things like that, you know. I mean, that's all I knew about Attila the Hun was when I seen Jack Palance in a film, you know, in the late 50s, and I thought, good God, you know, and I was listening to these men, and they were arguing, debating, you know. I learned more, really, outside of school than what I did in school, really, you know. And the people we learned from was these older miners, you know, who had access to books in the miners' libraries, you know.
The first history we have got is of the river civilizations, yes. The Suez, yes. Particularly the Euphrates, yes. And they were confined within their own areas owing to particular geographical conditions. The sea and the sand protected them from what they termed marauding tribes.
The Rhondda had its self-taught philosophers and historians, and the miners' institutes were the brains of the valley, proud bastions of rational thought and social promise in a world devoid of both sense and sympathy, places to practice politics and also rehearse pleasures. Park and Dare, a huge gesture of hope in 1913, is still used today for film, discussion and theatre.
It was either cowboy films, and you went down the street like that, and it was Tarzan, or there was war films. If you went, and if it was a war film about the Air Force, John Wayne and all that, the Flying Tigers, you came out down the street like this, and then always one of the boys, always first to get killed, laying on the floor. I mean,
but the pictures
were
were our escape. It was brilliant, it was, because I mean, in Ferndale we had a marvellous choice. We had 2 picture houses, and Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday would be, one film, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday would be another film,
That's right,
and we had a marvellous choice. I remember you going to pictures every night of the week, really, get threepence to go, we do anything, chop wood for old people, just get, a tanner to go to pictures, didn't we?
Yeah.
And not just cinema. The Judges' Hall in Tonopandi was, in the 1950s, a mecca for jiving teenagers, somewhere to go out of that incessant Rhondda rain. And music, from oratorios to rock and roll, led by world-famous male-voice choirs and prize-winning brass bands with wind and vocal power in music hall and opera and in every form in between and all through, has reverberated in the life of Rhondda and dispelled the gloom of that reign. For a time in the 1940s and 50s, mining life seemed assured, if depleted, but the industry really was a vanishing one, and struggle marked its end. The strikes of 72 and 74 were national victories for the NUM. That of 1984-85 was a community rebellion as much as a strike.
The women of the Rhondda are out on the picket line to stop the coal board's closure plan and save the Mardy mine, fighting for our children and the town where we belong. You'll hear their voices singing, we are women, we are strong, oh Mardy.
We are still fighting, the fight is still blinking on, but we are still proud as wives to march up this pit road with our husbands. They can hold their heads up, we can hold ours up, and the fight is still on.
People were not defeated, but the industry's end was inexorable. And at Mardy, within a year, the march from the last pit in the Rhondda was as moving an occasion as even these valleys have seen.
It was a most eerie type of day. It was very early in the morning. There had been a service up on top of the pit, on top of the colliery, and the place was crowded, very, very full up there. And there were quite a number of hundreds of people up there. And they all walked back, after the service ended, they all walked back to Mardy, from the top of the pit, back to Mardy. And the street where I live is the last street before going to the colliery then. And it was a very misty, foggy morning. And all you could hear was the tramping of feet coming down. No band, nothing. Just the people walking down from the colliery. The people who'd gone up there to go to the service, and some of the miners as well. And all you could hear was a tramp of feet until they suddenly came into sight. And our street was full of people. They'd come up from the bottom of Mardy to see them coming down the street. It was the most eerie atmosphere that I've ever experienced then. It was a wonderful experience, and yet it was a sad experience to think that the colliery had finished, that it was the end of an era.
Sights and sounds will linger in the landscape and in the mind. It's not only inevitable, it's right that older generations should consider their lives, should look back for us with a wistful pride on the way perhaps they built those lives against hard odds. It's a history that requires a sense of heritage. Rhondda's landscape today, greened over and beautiful once again in so many ways, is still freighted with a heavy significance. Green sites, yes, but sites where colliery wheels once filled the horizon. But more than anything of Rhondda today is a sense of the power of community. The talk of community and of civilization in the Rhondda is not mere rhetoric, because the living reality is all around us still. The coal may have gone, but the people and their culture still remain, and the generations still connect, old and young, a sense of togetherness stitched together by memory and by a lived experience which few other communities in the world have ever come to. The Rhondda has seen so much itself that it has a sense of obligation, of responsibility, of duty. When you say the word Rhondda, you say the word humanity. You mean something, and the world knows it. The new century that beckons Rhondda will inevitably be one of change. It will also be one of vitality, one where sport and other elements of Rhondda life that Rhondda people have always enjoyed will revitalise the valley and take it to fresh fields. New housing has settled with surprising ease into the folds of these old hills, but then it has always been a welcoming landscape. And today it is a place that outsiders will testify to be one of stunning beauty. To the people of the Rhondda itself, I think it will above all be remembered as a place of unique taste and personality, a world they made.
You know, the Rhondda has a very lively rhythm now. I think it's come back to what it was in the original days. It used to be, before the coal industry came, it was a very tranquil, quiet place. And now, well, then the mines came and scarred the valley. There was a lot of work, a lot of industry here. But now it's come back again to its natural state.
The fame of Rhondda Valleys will exist for very, very many years, long into the next century, as an industrial area, at a place to produce the coal that we talk about, but also at a place to produce a great, courageous, very, very proud people.